Most I've laughed in a while.
Hello! Oh my gosh, we are
Hello!
having so much fun here on The Real Ones. I'm Lisa Jones with
Goldyn Duffy.
Woohoo! And we have an incredible guest today, and we are getting ready to go live on Facebook. So let me get that going and
get it on.
Is there
yeah,
anything?
So we've got a mystery guest, which is really exciting. This was somebody that has been a serious influence to Lisa and I for the past few years of our life. And he has created an incredible, we'll call it a movement, an incredible movement.
Yes.
So we're going to let him share what it is, but you're in for a real treat. I'm really excited about this show.
My gosh. Yeah, we've already been laughing hysterically. We already had kind of a
it's good.
An interesting.
We should do like a behind the scenes because
we should have been filming that from the get-go. Oh well, it's all good. All right, we're almost there. It's going on Facebook Live is always a little bit of a interesting.
Yeah, I put Facebook back on my phone. I'm back, people.
Oh,
but I am back with restrictions. I'm restricting myself. Because I realized that if I don't have it on my phone, I'm not really posting my inspirations. So, yeah, I think that's important, especially right now.
Yeah. All right, we're going live.
All right, let's go. Let's go. We are streaming live.
Woo-hoo!
Hello, Facebook.
Hello, Facebook.
Wednesday treat for you.
We are so excited to be here. We have a very special guest. And we are going to bring him on. Are you ready? Do you want to say anything before we bring him on?
I'm totally ready, totally excited. This person has influenced Lisa and I's life for the past few years. He's influenced tens of thousands, I want to say.
I know. I just heard they had 20,000 in their group now.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Let's see. So here he's coming in.
Hey,
Rauri Fairbairns. Woo! Here he is. 1 year, no beer.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
1 year, no beer. Rauri, thank you for joining us. We're so pumped that you're here.
Thank you for having me and streaming me and inviting me and all the above.
Yes, all these amazing things. And we are live on Facebook right now, as well as it will be on our YouTube, and we have a podcast. So this is going live all over the world.
Spreading everywhere.
Yeah, awesome. We hit it in every court here.
So let me start. I'm just going to say, because this is kind of, Goldyn didn't know about this movement, and I don't even know how I found out about it, other than
divine intervention.
Yeah, divine intervention somehow.
We're very targeted.
Yeah. Somehow you had it, we target people that are thinking about giving up drinking. And it wasn't really, it was more like I think you did a 30-day challenge or something. This was in 2017. January 1st is when I did the 30-day challenge, and I'd done a few challenges on my own, and I really enjoyed them. And I'm like, oh, I'm just going to do it with this group. Oh, this is fun. And then I did the 90-day challenge, and that was, a little more difficult, but I did it, no problem. And then it was like I finished the 90-day challenge, and the next one was 365, and I'm like, wow, that's kind of a big jump, but okay, why not? So I did it. And then at the end of 365, I went to a New Year's Eve party. I was fully intending to have a glass of champagne to celebrate. Ended up getting into kind of a fight, not a fight, but I was upset at the, I was like, what the heck? She had given out party favors to everybody with their names on it. And for some reason she didn't have one for me. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I'm out. So I left, went to my house, which was just down the road. And I went out on my balcony, and all of a sudden fireworks right in front of my place, like giant ones. It was the Grand Wailea was putting off fireworks. And so I felt like the universe was celebrating with me that I did not have a glass of champagne on my 365. So then I went another 3 years, and what are we in now? May 6th, 2020.
Just kept going.
I did have one. We'll talk about my one blip, my last birthday, but it was perfect.
You're like the Forrest Gump of alcohol free. You just kept going, and everyone's like, when's she gonna stop?
That's right. Exactly.
I'm gonna keep running.
I'm gonna keep going. So anyway, but yes, so 1 year no beer. Tell us, Rauri, like how and why?
How all of the backstory. Okay, well, it kind of started a bit like this. I used to be an entrepreneur and tried multiple businesses and failed and called myself a serial failpreneur. By the time I was 25 years old, I'd tried 5 different businesses. So really not very successful at all. And then quite randomly through the TV program The Apprentice, which I got accepted for here in the UK, series 2. And I went down for the beginning of the filming, and 4 hours of being messed around, and eventually I didn't go on the show, but rather randomly bumped into an oil broker and became an oil broker in London. And for me, that's when two worlds collided, you know, partying and being successful. I was very good at both of those, or rather I was very good at the partying part, and obviously the success followed, being that it was part of the job. So started on crude oil, and then set up a jet aviation desk, created a bit of a name for myself. And then I think sometime in 2013, and I'd always been quite an aware person. So the first book I ever really read from front to back, other than, you know, Noddy stories or Santa's coming or whatever, was when I was 12 years old. I read What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter. And it was like the first self-help book that I was like, wow, like, yeah, my brain talks to me, and this is really amazing, and I can think about my thoughts, and started doing affirmations. And so that took me on this trail of self-help discovery. And I'd always, you know, from then on, I pretty much only read and looked at these books. Anyway, 2013, I got introduced to this thing called Headspace, and I started meditating on the train, on the way to work and on the way back. And that is really where all of this came from, because I started to get awareness of my habits, and I thought, you know, I think alcohol is causing me more trouble than I realize. Now, it was never, nobody come to me and gone, you've got a problem. I wasn't carrying on and drinking. It wasn't really on my radar. It was like, yeah, sure, I was hungover 2 times, 3 times a week, I don't know. You know, I'd be doing the occasional thing. I might go 2 or 3 weeks without a drink, but, you know, it was just in my life. And through meditation, I thought, I think it's causing me more trouble than I realize. So I approached my boss and I said, I'm thinking about taking a break from booze. And he said, you are committing commercial suicide if you stop drinking. So I was like, whew, committing commercial suicide. Like, that's like saying goodbye to your life as a broker, right? You pretty much, you're only focused on making the money. Anyway, it took me 6 months to pluck up the courage. And eventually I plucked up the courage, and I was just blown away. I took a 90-day challenge, and I fitter, faster, healthier, happier, better dad, better husband, more productive at work. A decade of IBS disappeared, having seen doctors and Chinese medicine, and it just disappeared. Psoriasis disappeared. You know, I stopped seeing a counselor. I'd been in counseling since I was like 6 years old. It was like there were no areas of my life that didn't improve. And this is completely the opposite of what I thought taking a break from booze was. Like, I didn't have a problem. I didn't need to go into that problem place. I didn't associate with that. Yet I had all these advantages and benefits from taking a simple break from booze. So how do I help people realize that? And I got together with Andy. He used to be a broker in the same firm as me. He'd just done 6 months alcohol free. He'd gone back to Ireland, right, and celebrated his 40th birthday in Ireland alcohol free. And I was like, wow, if this guy can do longer, I can. And he kind of inspired me to carry on. So we sat there and we said, how do we get more people to realize the advantages and benefits? Here's the thing. You can sit and tell people until they're blue in the face, you'll be so much happier. You'll be so much calmer. You're going to be more relaxed with your children. You're going to feel better about yourself. And they're going to go, I don't care. I love my wine. I love my beer. I love my vodka at the end of the day. My gin is my savior. The only way I can deal with my kids is to have a wine. I need my bubbly every time the sun is out, whatever it is, right? We're so in this matrix.
Yeah.
So how do we get people to realize it? I know, let's create a challenge. Let's try and make a challenge out of it, something to make it cool, be proud of doing, say, hey, I'm just doing this challenge. It's 90 days or 30 days or 28 days or however many days you want. And then in a way, what we do is we counteract this peer pressure. Just on a side note, last year, we did some research into this with Stirling University about peer pressure. And 93% of people had said that they'd had a drink where they didn't want to. 84% of people had experienced bullying from friends to drink alcohol. Something like 50% of people were experiencing peer pressure from bosses and colleagues, right? So peer pressure is the thing that surrounds our relationship with alcohol. It's where it starts. It starts with our identity and learning in our 20s and starting to associate status and who we are in society with alcohol, having fun in your 20s, getting laid, partying, being successful in your 30s. Then it starts to link itself with stress and unwinding and kids. And you start to really deepen this habit. And you've been conditioned for decades. Sorry, I've really gone off on a waffle, but you've been conditioned for decades, since we were knee-high to a grasshopper, that alcohol is so pertinent to life. And the truth is, when somebody comes and does a challenge, and they do 28 days, for many people isn't enough. 90 days is absolutely perfect. Most people have that huge moment between 40 and 60 days when they do the challenge. Not only do they change their relationship with alcohol, they change their life. Like, their life is changed. Most people go, oh my God, why didn't I do this before? Why didn't I know about you guys? So as you can see, I'm pretty passionate about this, and because it has such a big impact on people's lives. So that's kind of the background and where we are today. I think we've recently just hit over 100,000 members in 90 countries. So it's seen some phenomenal growth, and we've got lots more to go.
I have the chills. That's
100,000. Because didn't I just saw one of your Facebook groups just hit 20,000, right?
That's right, exactly. But this is the number of people who've been through our challenge.
Been through the challenge. 100,000. That is amazing. Wow. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So
we actually had 20,000 people in our first year. So back in 2016, we had 20,000 people come through the program, and back then it was free in 2016. The thing is that we were absolutely passionate about having a massive impact on the world, and I believed we could do that by giving it away for free. But no, free isn't free. Free is really expensive, and somebody has to pick up the tab. And we found that out the expensive way.
Right.
So,
Wow.
So I'm curious, because the thing that I loved about 1 Year No Beer that I think is different than the other programs out there like AA and stuff is that there's a lot of judgment around, this relationship with alcohol, and the fact that, I've learned a lot through 1 Year No Beer, through the books that I've read and things as far as like what alcohol is exactly, which is basically poison that you're putting in your body. But I love the non-judgmental part of this, where some people just want to change the relationship. For me, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to change my relationship. I don't necessarily never want to do it again. So do you still drink? Like, how did you guys come to this?
Like a fish.
Right.
No. So I always tell people.
How did you come to this idea of it's okay, whatever you choose, but just
100%.
try this, 90 days, 1 year, just see what it does for your life. Like, how did you guys come to that without it being this like hard line?
Yeah, I think that was the most important thing for us, is that we were aiming at a different segment. We were aiming for anyone who drinks more than 3 glasses of wine a week, up to and including, the beginning of heavy drinking. Pardon me, what we saw was there was just such a massive gap. It was either you had a problem or you didn't. And we were like, well, we want to fit into that area where it's conscious choice. It's like, I don't have a problem, but I just want to be better. I want to be fitter. I want to be faster, etc. So everything in our messaging had to be away from the stigmatization, away from anything like that, and only on the advantages and the benefits, and keep it focused like that. When we went through this, it was really much sort of, it was really sort of falling into discovery with everything and learning the hard way, as it is in entrepreneurialism often. I don't know anyone, well done to anyone who goes fully planned and then executes a plan, because that's not how I did it. We were a bit like one of those new hoovers, the robot hoovers. You put it down in the room and it has to bang off everything in the room, like bang, 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 at least twice before it knows the path. That's my entrepreneurial journey. Or 1 Year No Beer, certainly. So the thing is, my discovery was I did a year of not drinking. Then I had a bit of drink in between that year, just leading up to Christmas. And then I was like, you know what? I don't want this back. I'm going to do another year. So I did another year after that. And then I was like, I know that I want to put this into the right place. And so now I drink as much as I want, whenever I want. I just usually choose not to have a drink.
Yeah.
So I think that what we realized ourselves was, and certainly we see that from people on, is most people are searching for control. So
Yeah.
over 50% of people are searching for, who sign up to 1 Year No Beer, are looking for control, and they want to put it into a place where they can just take it or leave it completely. So it's not about never again, it's about changing your relationship with it. And this is all the stuff that we're really trying to get much, much, much better at. And I think as we develop, so there's a lot of investment going into our product and our technology as we speak. And I think as we look at it, you know, there are things like we are discovering about how we can make this so much better, you know, in terms of, as an example, resets, right? You know, when somebody tries to do the challenge and they reset, well, actually, it's not really a reset. You never, ever, ever have day one again. Nobody has day one again. Day one was way back when you first started trying to change your relationship with alcohol. It's a process.
Yeah.
Yes, sometimes you're going to go and have a drink and then wake up the next day and go, fuck, I'm an idiot. Why did I do that? I feel like crap. Okay,
Yeah.
hang on. Let me just go through the process that I know will help me deal with this again. What were my triggers? What was I really trying to do? What was going on for me? What am I going to do next time that this comes around? Oh, I was anxious and I was feeling lonely. Okay, what are the things I can do to counteract those two emotions and really feel them at that time? How do I get over the craving? Put some structure around it. Boom, right, I'm ready to go next time. That is just learning. So we as a program are going to get away more and more and more, even from the resetting, and have people go on this journey. And for many, if your journey is about control, then it's about saying, right, I want to try and control. Sorry, just adding into that slightly, is that a lot of people are searching for control, and what they're trying to do is manage whilst they're still in the thick of the matrix. And the thing is, if you go into this, and Andy talked about it in a brilliant live this morning, giving up alcohol. Okay, so if you go into it with the mindset of giving up alcohol, then you are going to struggle. You are going to, because you're giving something precious up. You're giving something you love up. Now, Goldyn, you said it perfectly before. We don't want to go into the health and the lambasting and alcohol is the devil and all that crap, but let's just do it for 5 seconds, right? And just talk about the facts. One, let's Google what is alcohol. When you Google what is alcohol, it says it's a colorless, flammable, volatile liquid, also used as a fuel source. It's ethanol. Has there ever been a study in the history of humankind that says putting ethanol into the human body is good for you? No, there never has been, and there never will be. It's a poison. It should have a skull and crossbones on it. That's the fact. End of story. Okay. The next thing is why were we drinking? This is a fact. Numbing out. For most of us, we're trying to numb out our emotions. We're trying to ignore what's going on inside our bodies. We're not listening to the pain that we feel about our environment, our relationships, our boredom, our loneliness, the fact that we don't have enough hobbies, the fact that we aren't in sync with our life or in aligned, whatever it is. We're ignoring that and we're numbing it out using alcohol. Those are the two facts. Now that we've drawn a line under that, we can call it what it is. And that's the only bit of negative we want to talk about. The rest is, let's look at the advantages and the benefits. Who doesn't want to be fitter? Weight loss, right? Did you know that alcohol has to be processed by the liver before it can be processed before it can process fat? So if you're trying to exercise to burn weight, you cannot do that whilst drinking alcohol. The system will do it. On top of that, there's so many calories in alcohol. So weight loss, sleep. You're drinking to sleep, but alcohol kills sleep. Alcohol stops you going into REM, and therefore it really forces you. So, I could, as you can tell, I could go on and on with this, but I think the key answer to your question is, we really want to always keep it onto the advantages, the benefits, and help people see where alcohol is having an impact.
Absolutely. That is fantastic. So I've noticed that there's, and I know there's been conversation of this on the page, that there's a compound effect that happens after a certain amount of days. So if you're just, in it for like 28 days, or the first time I tried, I actually signed up for 90 days, like right away. As soon as Lisa and I talked about it, I signed up for 90 days. It was the beginning of summer, which was, my husband was like, why would you do that to yourself?
Yes.
So I made it to 45 days, which was a struggle. Just the whole time it was a struggle. And then we were moving. So there was all the stress of moving, and that's what actually triggered me. And I noticed that that was my trigger, but it was information. And then I made it to the 90 days. And then I just stopped for like the next 2 years, even trying, just kind of limiting it to the weekends, but always having, I think this is the biggest thing that 1 year no beer has done for me. And in changing my relationship with alcohol is that struggle of just, should I drink, and how much should I drink, and when should I drink? Because being free from that is a freedom I don't even know if I can describe to people. And now that I, at that 1:15, I decided very consciously to have a drink with my husband on his birthday, and it was wonderful, and I didn't have any adverse reaction to it. But then like this weekend, I noticed there was that, that conversation going on that I had kind of gotten rid of. So I know there's a slippery slope that happens for people when they stop the 90-day challenge or the 365 and they kind of go back to it. Can you speak to, like, I think for me, the shift came when I read a book called Kick the Drink Easily by Jason Vale.
Yeah, Jason Vale. Yeah.
That book completely changed my belief systems around alcohol. And
he packs a punch.
Yeah, how you guys are, like, what you're doing in 1 year no beer to help people change those belief systems and bring some real honest truth to this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Jason Vale was instrumental in me changing my relationship with alcohol. So I think quite early on in my journey, so maybe 30 days in, I read his book as well, and I was like, wow, this is such a completely different way of looking at this thing. So yeah, and all credit to him. And I think that's what's key as well about this is that what we have found to be the most impactful is the community. So when we set this up, we learned from a whole bunch of stuff. We took positive psychology, NLP, created content, videos, all that good stuff for people to go. And what we found was, as people went through the program, they would then deliver that information live into a community. So somebody would post saying, I'm struggling with cravings, and you'd see the content that you'd put up in the members area being regurgitated, not once, not twice, but 7 times, or in different ways. And I was like, well, hang on a minute. As a user, why would you want 2-dimensional content that you sit and look at when you can get instant 5-dimensional content from people as soon as you post into a community? So the community is so powerful. And then it turned out that, we discovered that really there's a lot more subconsciously going on with the community. So when you are being challenged, somebody says to you, do you want to have a drink? And you go, oh, the first thing that you do is subconsciously you check about your sense of belonging. And if you are like, oh, hang on a minute, I'm the only person here not drinking, and oh, you're all my friends, and I don't know anybody else is drinking, you're like, fuck it, I'll have a drink. But if you are trying to change a behavior and you belong to a tribe that is encouraging you and you feel that support, even though it's social media or a community, and even if you're not into those things, trust me, it's subconscious, it's in your pocket, they're there, and you feel subconsciously the sense of belonging. You're like, no thanks, I won't have a drink, please. So the community is so powerful. But just like you said, the content is different, or the content, and I think that's why we see and we promote and actively encourage people that when they're going on this journey, pick up these books, go and check out Annie Grace, This Naked Mind, go and check out Jason Vale's book. William Porter, I'm doing a podcast with him, Alcohol Explained. There are amazing authors. You will gel more than you will with some than others. That's why it's really important, because some people might read a book and go, oh, well, that's not for me, and then put this to the side. So it's a smorgasbord that works for different people.
It's true. And I read Alcohol Lied to Me a few years ago, and that book, it'll tell you the truth. And I still didn't stop drinking after that. So it's just timing and readiness, and the community is what has kept me interested, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and I love what you said.
It's an amazing community. Sorry.
Yeah,
I was going to say the community is really what got me through the 90 day and then the 365, because I could use that as my excuse. I didn't need to, like you said, I didn't have to do it alone. It's like somebody would say, oh, do you want a drink? I'm like, oh, I'm doing a 365 challenge. And I mean, they would just be, like freaked out, but at least I had a reason. I'm like, no, I'm doing a 365 challenge with a group. And so it gave me that backbone. It gave me my backbone to say no. And it was crazy, that peer pressure. I was a part of a a country club. And I mean, seriously, people were like, come on, Lisa, just have one drink, please. And I'm like, dude, like, calm down. Like, why? That'll make you feel better. And I think that's what it is. Like, when you're not drinking, it's putting it up in everybody else's face that is, and they just want to feel okay, right?
Again, back to that tribalism thing. You've been socially conditioned to believe that as part of our tribe, we have this tradition of drinking alcohol. That's how we behave. It is the glue that keeps society together, fun, happiness, everything else, etc. And so everything has started to build around that. So when you're not drinking, you're boring. Oh, you're over there, you're boring. And that's in our brains as well. So we go, oh, I'm not drinking. Oh, I'm boring. And then people fall into that habit of going, oh, well, I'm boring. And you're like, no, I'm not going to be boring. I'm still going to dance naked on the tables, which was what I did.
I believe it. I believe
yes. But the other part is, so this is all part of that tribalism. And if you think about a tribe, when you go and change from a key part of the tribe and go and almost start being with another tribe, what happens? This old tribe starts to attack you. And that is exactly the thing. Like, what's wrong with you? Why are you not drinking? Come on, just one, blah, 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 blah. Don't call them. They don't drink. They're boring, etc. Such an innate thing that people don't even realizing what you're doing. And the thing is that once you've stepped, and it is the matrix. Right? So if you're watching this right now and you are regularly drinking, so you're drinking at least once a week and a few drinks at a time. If you're regularly drinking and you're like, listen to this going, I just don't get this. I don't understand. It is the matrix. We are so shuttered to believe it. So think about Neo going through the matrix. The world is perfectly normal. Everyone thinks that that's what the world is. This is normal. The thing is that when you pluck yourself out and you do a 90-day challenge, you are changed forever. And you're like, hang on a minute, I don't want to go back to that. And really it is changed. I was saying the other day, you know, if I choose to go and have a drinking session, and they are very few and far between, then I am really, really, really feel it. And it's not like one day, it's like 5 days or 7 days. Now, the thing with that is I was talking to somebody who was regularly drinking, and they were like, oh, well, you know, that why would I mean, does not really give me the incentive. And I'm like, yeah, but that's doing it to you all the time.
Right.
You don't realize, okay, that when you go and have 4 or 5 drinks, you're being pushed down here. And if it's got like a half-life of 7 days or 14 days, that each week you top that up. So you're nudged down to here. And you're sitting here. I interviewed one of the top entrepreneurs in Scotland, in the UK, sorry. And he was saying, so he started doing 1 year no beer at the beginning of January. And he's like, Ruari, I've just realized I've spent the last 5 years working at 80%. And I'm like, how much is it worth to you to suddenly be having not only the less cash from drinking, but 20% more of his productivity and everything. So, you know, and he thought he was on 100% before, but didn't realize until he'd come and done
that's the thing. It's like that veil, right?
It is.
Veil over, and you don't even realize how bad you feel, or like the capacity that I feel to feel good now is it's so much richer and deeper and stronger that through that whole journey, you just don't realize how bad you feel.
That's exactly right. Because you're always at a constant level of not feeling 100%. You're always down at that 80% at best, right? Well, that's what brought me to my last birthday in November. I thought, I walked in and they're like, oh, we're having a half price champagne, which was my thing, right? I'm like, half price champagne, I'm having a glass of champagne for my birthday, you know, and it had been almost 3 years. So I'm like, you know, no problem. So I have the half a glass. First of all, I mean, because I haven't had any alcohol in over almost 3 years, it just, as soon as I drank it, my whole body, I was like, oh my God, I can't like control what is happening with my body. It was the weirdest feeling. And then Rauri, oh my God, my headache, it was like a 3-day headache after that. Like the next day I couldn't function. I was like, this is horrible. And so it makes me not want to, like, maybe, you know, my daughter's getting married. I'm super excited. I'm not going to say I'm not going to have a half a glass of champagne.
I don't even know if you should after that.
I know. But anyway, but you know, it's like, but you don't know what it's like not to have alcohol in your body until you do it for a long time. And then you do, and you're just like, wow, this is true poison.
Yeah.
It is crazy.
It is.
Absolutely. But I think the key part here is that, and even you two are both saying it, is that everybody's journey is very different. And you know, when we look at it, people come in, most people are looking for control, and then after the 90-day challenge, 87% of people choose to carry on alcohol free. So they were like, I'm looking to go into moderation, but actually now I've experienced it, why would I go back to that? And that's the biggest success for us, because it's not about getting everybody alcohol free. That's not what it is about. What it's about is getting people to realize what alcohol free is like, to and I say this so often, people say, oh, when is the time to think about moderation? When you have loved alcohol free, right? When you have gone to the events, you've done the different occasions, you've been through the triggers. And this is, you know, when you've been through those things, you are then able to say, you'll be able to have complete free and conscious choice. I've seen that. It's awesome. I'm going to take that, you know. Just going back onto that and talking about it, lots of people say, you know, oh, I can't get started now. It's not a good time. I've got
I was going to just ask you that, because this is the worst time. I'm like, if I can make it through this sober, I can do anything.
Do anything. Well, the first thing is I mean, alcohol sales went up 55% in the beginning of March in the US, 22% over here in the UK. So you guys were doing a lot more stockpiling than we were. You know, we started to see some of the social economic impacts or social impacts of that drinking, from domestic violence spiking, suicides, all sorts of horrible things like that, which alcohol, drugs, etc., can have a big part of. And when you look at it, there has never been a better time. Okay, you are not around the peer pressure. The peer pressure is not there. You're not going out into all of that. We've changed our environments. And the thing about our brains is that in order to get our brains to change, we have proven this, we need to start change in a small way. And by starting to get change to happen into the brain, it makes it more malleable. It makes it more likely to create change in other areas. So this is like I used to say, I changed my relationship with alcohol literally by changing my relationship with Haribo over the course of an hour. So I used to dive into the Haribo, I'd eat the whole bag straight away, and I called myself, you know, I labeled myself as this Haribo monster. Everyone knew, just give me Haribo, it was gone. So I was like, I'm going to tackle this one thing first. So I put Haribo, one out each on the keyboard like this, and set my phone time for 15 minutes. And then every 15 minutes it would come to, the alarm would go off saying, you have a choice. I'd pick up the Haribo and I'd go, no, I'm not having one right now. Or yes, I am. Within an hour, I had a new label for myself because I'd controlled Haribo. And I honestly believe that really gave me a platform for changing much larger areas of my life. And this is exactly what BJ Fogg is talking about in his latest research. Sorry, I went off on another.
No,
one
and
again.
What is that? What's Haribo? What is it?
Is that
Haribo is little gummy bears.
Gummy bears.
Gummy
I
bears.
thought it was gummy bears, and
I was like,
gummy
what
bears
is that?
myself.
Haribo. What's Ruari doing lots of? Yeah, man, it's a drug called Haribo.
That was actually one of the tricks when I first started was I would just say to myself, not today or not right now. And so because if you realize that a craving really only lasts a few minutes, and if you pull yourself away from it, but it's when you entertain those thoughts that you create that momentum and that's why people end up just saying, fuck it. And so that's been really helpful to me, but not just to say not right now, but to just shut it down, you know, just shut it down and just move to something else and focus on something else. Because if you allow that voice to continue to get louder and louder and louder, of course you're going to
overtake. Yeah. I always had to walk like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, you know, happy hour time. I'm like, I got to just walk outside my house, get out of the house and move my body. And by the time I got back from the walk, I didn't have the craving or the thought anymore. So
exercise, dopamine buster.
Yeah.
Exercise releasing dopamine. Interestingly, I was doing some stuff on kindness. So kindness has been proven to release oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. And that little cocktail can be a real prevention for cravings, because that's exactly what we search for. We certainly get large amounts of dopamine. Dopamine or drinking alcohol, being with people, releases serotonin. So anyway, you by cultivating kindness, so by feeling the craving and then literally trying to do something kind at that moment, take a picture on the phone and send a postcard to somebody you haven't spoken to in a while, or, record a video and send it to somebody, whatever it is. But actually kindness can really help beat cravings.
Wow. That
really
is a
smart.
really great idea. So talk about, so what are you doing now with 1 Year No Beer? Like, what is the setup, or, people, if they're interested in joining, like, what's the program?
Completely. I'm going to get onto that, but just before I had this little
Yes.
side note, because you mentioned about spirituality and things like that, and
Oh, yeah.
there is something very spiritual awakening about changing your relationship with alcohol. And if you look at it, we talked already about numbing out ourselves, the voice inside, our intuition, our soul. All of that is being numbed by drinking alcohol. And when you remove it and you have this awakening, you get these gifts. The gifts are the productivity, the clarity in your brain. You start to think, hang on a minute, what direction am I going in? I got much more connected to myself. Yes, I started meditating at the same time, because and a part of our program is really based on meditation. We get people into mindfulness. It's such a behavior change. And so people go through this awakening. Now, for me, that meditation on the train simply led to me changing my relationship with alcohol. In October 2017, and I've probably told you this story before, but I'll tell it again because it's a goodie. In 2017, I sent a tweet out to a journalist, and off the back of it, we ended up getting a 10-minute feature on BBC World News in over 200 countries. And a friend of mine called me up in Italy, and he said, Ruari, I've just seen you on the news. I think what you're doing is amazing. I'm meeting the Dalai Lama next week. Would you like to meet him?
Wow.
And a week later, I'm in the center of whatever it's called in Italy, with the leaning to Pisa. Thank you. I'm in the center of Pisa. That's my brain. And I'm standing up, and I'm, get the chance to meet the Dalai Lama and ask him a question in front of thousands of people. And it was an amazing, amazing moment for my life. And all the way through the creation of 1 Year No Beer, the things that have happened and what happens to people and the serendipity and everything else, there's something very spiritual about what we are doing here. There's something very spiritual about the movement, about the impact it has on people, and that's why these sort of doors seem to open for us. Anyway, I wanted to get onto that.
Oh, well, yeah. And wait, before we do that, because I just need to mention that too, because for me, that was the other part of it, as my spirituality kept getting bigger and bigger. So you probably don't know my story, but my husband died when I was 37. So it was 16 years ago. And I had an out-of-body experience where I went to heaven and basically saw him being welcomed into heaven, which was a surprise because he wasn't baptized. So I thought he was going to hell. I had these beliefs that were very concrete in my mind at that time. And so it completely shattered my whole belief system, and then I just kept getting more and more, like, angels started talking to me, and then dead people started coming to me. And I was a CPA. I worked at a hedge fund. I'm like, what is happening? But
Wow.
As I walked down that path, and I ended up doing large stage shows, bringing, channeling people and stuff, the alcohol was a hindrance. Like, it completely shut me down. And so that's partly why I just kept wanting to get rid of it, because it was really, my guides were telling me it was poison and that it was, keeping me
completely
in a low vibe. Right.
Wow.
So
is there a reason why it's called spirits?
Yeah,
that's exactly right. I've seen it's so true. You know, that's what they said back in the days, right? You drink the alcohol and the spirits would come into you. And I've, my son actually told me he was at a, big college thing, and he woke up and saw spirits, like demonic type spirits over his friend, and it freaked him out. I'm like, oh yeah, that was probably because you guys were drinking way too much alcohol. But it's opening up,
Wow.
the spirituality is opening up. And that's, what Goldyn and I are doing with the Real Ones is, talking more
we
more
feel
about
like
it.
we're on the
It's
same
awesome
mission
work.
as you are, to just wake people up, and to bring the truth to these circumstances and things that people are facing in their life, so that they know how to deal with it, and they know how to get away from it, and they know how to navigate it in a way where we create more joy and less suffering,
Yeah, completely.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
Well, we're so pumped that you came here and just shared so much with us.
I didn't stop talking, did I? But so in terms of 1 year no beer, just going back into because you mentioned, so there's a 28-day challenge, a 90-day challenge, and a 365-day challenge. With that, you get access to content, members area, videos, all sorts of amazing stuff like that. But the most and biggest impactful thing is the community, as I mentioned, an incredible community. I mean, the last few weeks or two, people are struggling financially, and we just get messages, there's over 20 messages now, people saying, I'd like to anonymously upgrade this person or pay for this person. And it's like, who does that? It's just amazing from the support within our community. So that's really how it all works. Of course, if you're trying to change your relationship with alcohol, we still have a podcast, which is free. There's blogs that are free. We're putting tons of content out onto Facebook, 1 year no beer, Instagram, 1 year no beer, Twitter, OYMB UK. Nobody really looks at Twitter anymore, do they? But what's Twitter?
Exactly. And I just I have a question. Oh, go ahead.
Trump. Don't mention him. Sorry.
No, can't say that word. But some people are like, why do we have to pay for this? Why? I'd love you to adjust that, because I totally get it. I know what like I've done a lot of stuff for free. I mean, for free, I'm the one paying it, and it's expensive. So
yeah. Well, there's two parts to that. So we gave it away for free to begin with. And then when we started charging for it with Stirling University, people watched more videos, engaged more in the program, and had better outcomes. So skin in the game matters. The second thing is that we couldn't possibly reach people without marketing, and marketing on Facebook costs a fortune. And so the vast majority of people's sign-up fee just goes into marketing. On top of that, you've got all of the content production, 22 staff that helped create 1 year no beer. Yes. Coaches, content. I mean, there's tons of stuff that goes into it. There's a reason why we have a 96. Sorry, we had to adjust that. The Advertising Standards Agency contacted us, said they'd had multiple complaints from people that we were marketing a 96% success rate when it wasn't true. So we had to readjust it to 95 because it was 95.5%. Anyway, so 95% success rate, which is still incredible in our industry when you compare it to other sorts of interventions of 5%, etc. And there's a reason why. And lastly, there are many other programs out there which charge you 10 times what we charge. We were absolutely adamant that it needed to be less than what you were spending on an alcohol, no matter what. You can't drink for less. Then you can't have a drink. You can't have any form. It's impossible. So that's how we've done it. And I think not only the skin in the game, the quality of the product. And the last bit on this is that we really aren't a charity. We weren't not a charity. We are not we're a socially minded enterprise, but not a social enterprise. We're a business. We are on a mission to change the world's relationship with alcohol. We don't need to be standing out there with a begging cup, limiting us. We are going to have a massive impact on the world, and alcohol is just the first step. So the key thing is that we are now working on our technology. Our technology is going to be the best in behavior change, and we surround that with a peer support community globally. And then we start to diversify into different verticals. And that is gambling and porn and caffeine and sugar and all these other things. Because what we are experts at are behavior change. We can't do any of that without having fees and revenue and growth. But
I love that. I've got chills as you say that. My whole body is
I love your vision
chilling.
for this, to see where you're going to branch out and see what kind of influence and impact you're going to have on the world. It's like you guys already have the vision, and we teach people vision stuff. Like, you've got to visualize, you've got to feel it, you've got to believe it, you got to work with it, work with the scope of where you're going. And I think that alcohol dumbs all of that down and allows people to just be very complacent. So by taking that away, it's like people start to move forward again. So
completely.
This is
I've never struggled with vision. So when I was, 13 years old, I was hauling crabs, living on an island, or getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning before school, hauling creels and selling crab to the French. And at 14 years old, I wrote a letter to Richard Branson, and I said, I'm going to change the world one day, and I'm looking forward to having lunch with you. Wow. Now, there's another part to that story I'll just get onto in a second, but I always had this grandiose vision. Maybe that's just pure ego, I don't know, but I always had this vision. I always like, I know it's going to happen, I know it's inside me. And so when it started to unravel through changing my relationship with alcohol, I was like, this is why I was here. When I met the Dalai Lama, I was like, this is my purpose. I handed in my notice on the Monday morning from my oil broking job, because I was like, this is why I was put on the planet. And the issue I have is, like, I read the other day, Elon Musk announced that we probably won't be living on Mars in his lifetime. And that was the moment where I was like, yeah, he's just like me. Well, not, you know what I mean? Not quite, but his vision did not match the operational abilities of what we've done. And that's been my downfall my whole life. I've never been short of vision, but actually operationally putting it into plan has always been a little bit more slower. We're not quite on Mars yet today, Ruari. One other thing I was going to mention into there, which was, it's shot at my brain. That's the one.
Right. And I wouldn't call it your ego. I would call it we call it the desires of your heart. Like, that's basically like what we think of it as, like God tapping you on the shoulder. Like, this is
100%.
You know, these desires are part of us expressing ourselves as all that is, you know?
Yeah.
So
it was completely that. And it was the calling. And when I got aligned to it within oil broking, and I was so unhappy in oil broking. I was making a lot of money, but I was so unhappy because I wasn't listening to what was going on inside.
Yeah.
And that when I removed the alcohol, all of these things moved into place, like the purpose, everything, the plan. And it's been constantly reiterated along the way. So I feel so grateful now that I have this very strong mission and purpose. When you get connected, and you guys will teach this all the time, when you get connected to something, and when I meditate, I go to that place, I feel it very strongly. When I get aligned with myself, I know that I'm on the right path. Like, to be in that place, I'm so grateful that I get to be doing something like that. Every day I get messages from people saying, you changed my life, you changed my life. There's tons of social media posts tagged, it's life-changing, etc. Yeah. To be able to do that with one's life is just incredible.
Absolutely.
It is everything.
Yeah. That is amazing. 100%. And I love it too, because like you said, by changing your relationship with alcohol, it woke you up to allow you to do your purpose and get away from a mind numbing job, which I think that's what happens to people. They're drinking the alcohol, they're doing these jobs that they hate, and they don't see that if they disconnect that there's actually a brand new answer out there for them. But, people are just kind of lost in the matrix.
Completely.
It always brings to mind, I listen to a lot of Wayne Dyer, and
yes.
He said, and he used to drink 10 beers a day. And
wow.
A shaman came to him and said, you will never fulfill your spiritual purpose here on earth as long as you are drinking alcohol. And from that moment, he dropped it. And I always think about that, because it's like, well, do I want to live this life that's less than, or do I want to live the real purpose of why I'm here? And
brilliant.
So much more of that has been revealed to me since I've let go of that habit.
Yeah.
So,
that's amazing. Very powerful. Well done.
So cool. Well, Ruari, thank you. This was just incredible. It's such an honor.
How can people find you? Do they just look up 1 Year No Beer on Facebook?
You can Google my name. You'll find me, no bother. Rauri Fairbairns. There's not many people called that. Actually, even worse than that, and I don't tell many people this, because you said, what do you not tell many people?
Yeah,
right.
My full name is Rauri William Fletcher Luke John Fairbairns. Oh my God, how much did my parents hate me?
Why? There wasn't one name good enough for you, I guess, right?
Yeah. And the thing is that if you take Rauri William Fairbairns, Ruari means Red King.
Oh.
William shorts down to Willie, and Fairbairns in Scottish means pretty child. So I'm Red King Willie Pretty Child. It's just bad.
Wow.
It's bad.
Wow. I don't know where to go
for my next
there.
Party trick, let's just click end. Just end.
Whoops, we had a technology problem.
Who is this weirdo?
We don't know what happened.
Well, we're just glad you didn't stand up, because we understand that you like to do these interviews with no pants on.
Apparently no one is wearing pants anymore. My daughter actually sent shirts that say no pants party, because no one's wearing pants anymore.
I've sent mine off to Oxfam. I don't need them anymore. They're not required for Zoom calls. Waist
Not
up
required
only.
for life. Nope.
That is fantastic. Awesome.
Oh,
Well, thank you.
friend. We're so
Thank
excited
you.
to draw people to your group and help the world change.
You guys are awesome. Great work you're
Awesome.
doing, and I'm just so glad to have been a part of your life. And thanks for bringing me on and sharing the love.
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely. All right.
All right. Take good care.
Take
See you
care.
guys.
Bye.